everybody. Welcome back to the Mindful of You podcast. This is episode 54, Body Image, Clothing, and Sustainability with McKinley Thomas. So, I have already chatted with my good friend slash sister, McKinley. She is my brother's wife. They've been married for a little over 3 years, and she is also the founder of the nonprofit organization Rethreaded. Rethreaded is based in Ogden, and they host women's clothing exchanges to try and extend the life of clothing and give all women more accessible access to clothing. So I really enjoyed our conversation, and I just wanted to mention a couple of things that I thought of after our interview that I thought could be helpful information for you guys. So in this interview, we go over some things that we do to try and live more sustainably when it comes to our clothing. I believe I mentioned this in the interview as well, but I just wanted to mention again that neither of us is trying to pretend to be perfect when it comes to this matter, or even necessarily good at it. This is just one area both of us had found an interest in when it comes to the environment and when it comes to ethical clothing. And so we wanted to share. There are many areas in my life, even including clothing, where I'm not living as sustainably as I could, where I am adding waste to the environment. And I am well aware of that. And so if you are in the same boat as me and still trying to figure out these things, or maybe even just hearing about it today, I don't want you to feel guilty or shame surrounding that. And along with that, maybe listen to a couple of our ideas and see how you could get started within clothing to live a little bit more sustainably. I know it was important to McKinley as well, that you all knew that. And she also said something really cute after our interview and said, I was reading your questions and I thought, I don't even know if it's that deep. I'm just a girl who really loves clothes. And so she's wonderful. And I think you guys will really enjoy our conversation. So I will stop delaying you from listening to that and go ahead and enjoy this interview with McKinley Thomas. Hi, McKinley. How's it going?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Thank you so much for being willing to come on today.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, awesome. Just so you and the listeners know, as we go through this interview, I might throw in a few of my own thoughts here as well. So it's going to be a little bit more of a team effort than some other interviews because I have some things to say on some of these questions too. So we'll let it be a little bit more of a conversation if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, awesome. So I've already talked to my listeners a little bit about you, so we're just going to dive right in. So our first question here is, what has your relationship with clothes been throughout your life?
I love clothes. Honestly, I think growing up that clothes were a big part of my identity, for better or worse, but I really looked forward to making outfits that I really liked and that I enjoyed wearing, and I took a fashion design class in high school, so it's something that I have always been really passionate about, I guess. As I've gotten older, I have started to become a little less connected to my clothes. I think I've started to find other ways that I express myself, but I think for me, clothes have been, in some ways, an artistic form of expression.
Yeah.
As a way to express myself, but as I've gotten older, I've started to kind of veer away from that and to use my clothes more as a means of preparing me for the day rather than something that I connect with my personal identity.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's really cool. I feel similarly. I feel like I've always liked clothes. I remember getting really bored though whenever I'd go shopping with my family. I never wanted to be there. So I definitely think my love for clothes maybe is a little bit the reverse story of yours, where I've grown to love shopping and stuff more as I got older. Because when I was a kid, I was just like, I'm so tired. I need to sit down. So, but maybe like the whole online thing has shifted that too. So, okay, awesome. So our next question is, how do clothes affect your personal body image?
This question was really interesting for me to think about. As I've gotten older, especially in my early 20s, I've had some really hard struggles with body image. And as I reflected back on what those struggles were, for me, clothes were a means of helping to improve my personal body image. I really liked finding clothes that I felt confident in and that would help me, I guess, kind of overcome the body image struggles that I was having. And so, in terms of my own body image, I think clothes have helped me to feel more confident, if that makes sense. I feel like that's kind of weird. Sometimes we get hung up on what clothes we wear and keeping up with all the trends and everything like that. But I've really enjoyed finding clothes that maybe aren't on trend, but that help me to combat the mental body image struggles that I've had.
Interesting. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, I think where a lot of women especially get caught up is sizing when it comes to clothes, because like sizing can be super inconsistent across brands, and then obviously our size is going to fluctuate, especially as we get a little older, get out of high school, after having kids or anything like that. Our size is going to probably fluctuate. So as just a follow-up question, do you feel like that's something that ever affected you, is like seeing size changes or caring about the number on the tag, or is that something that hasn't bothered you much?
Absolutely. Yeah, thinking about sizing in terms of body image, that was definitely something that has been a struggle and that sometimes still is. I, about a year ago, gained quite a bit of weight and ended up needing to move up a size, and I was so reluctant to move up a size, and I would just try to like make the pants that I had work, and I don't know, I'm still kind of between sizes, so I was to the point where like I could fit in those pants, but finally I just gave in and went up a size, and I was so comfortable. And I was like, why have I been doing this to myself? Like, why do I care so much about a 2 number difference that I'm willing to like suck into these pants every day when I could just be wearing something that's comfortable and that probably doesn't even look that different. Like when people look at you, they can't tell what size you're wearing.
Yeah, if anybody's looking at the size of your clothes, they're getting way too close to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that definitely was something that I struggled with, but when I did decide to just be okay with going up a size, it was so freeing because now I feel like I can sit down without my pants like bursting at the seams. It's great.
Yeah, and a lot of times it ends up being more flattering too, when we wear the clothes that fit us. So I think it's a common struggle. So like I want to validate people who are like, man, I don't want to move up a size, like this sucks, but I also want to send out encouragement of like, you'll probably feel better and it'll be okay. But I understand the struggle. And it sucks to get new clothes all the time because your weight or your shape is bouncing around, which is frustrating. So
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So what got you interested in sustainability when it comes to clothing? And then I'm going to add on to that a little bit. Can you maybe just touch a little bit on what sustainability is, if anyone's not familiar with that word?
Yeah, absolutely. So sustainability is, in terms of clothing, it's finding clothing that, there's a couple ways that you can look at sustainability. One aspect of it is finding clothes that have been sustainably produced, meaning that they don't use as many natural resources as other clothing, or they use organic fibers. there's lots of aspects to it, but basically sustainably produced clothing is better for the earth overall than your typical fashion. The other way that you can look at sustainable clothing is, again, clothing that protects the earth by not going to landfills. So these are clothes that have been reused, reworn, thrifted, all that kind of stuff also contributes to sustainable clothing. And so my journey with sustainable clothing is long and not a straight line necessarily.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've always been really interested in clothes, and I love getting new clothes. And so it seems kind of paradoxical, I guess, that I'm here talking about sustainability because I love buying new clothes.
Right.
But I was looking at my closet and literally had no more room. All of my drawers were packed, my closet was packed, and I just had to get rid of clothes. And like I said earlier, I've been somewhat emotionally attached to my clothes, and so I have a really hard time getting rid of clothes. And this was something that I started discussing with our family about needing to get rid of clothes and wanting new clothes and trying to find my style and all that kind of stuff. And we started talking about fast fashion companies like Amazon or Shein that produce massive amounts of clothing. And I just started thinking about it, and I was like, man, there are millions of clothing articles going out every single day that are just being mass-produced, probably not ethically produced. That was another big thing that got me kind of on this path, was not only looking at sustainability, but also looking at the ethics behind how the clothes were produced.
Yep.
And so I started finding a lot of correlation behind that. I was really mostly interested in ethics to start out with, but then as I started looking into it, I realized that those things were pretty closely intertwined.
Okay.
And so I was looking for ways to get rid of clothes, get new clothes, and do it all in a way that was going to be sustainable and ethical. And so it felt like this culmination of all of these things that I was wanting. I wanted clothes, but I also wanted to be sustainable and to do something that was going to be healthy for the earth, because so many of our clothes end up in thrift stores, which is great, or in landfill, which is not so great. And that's a major issue right now for our environment, is the amount of textiles that are ending up in landfills.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that conversation because I had recently gotten like super into shopping at Shein. And I want to get ahead of this, that we're not trying to shame anybody who's using fast fashion type companies. And especially if you don't know, and even if you do know, there's a lot of reasons that people still choose to utilize them. So we're not trying to make that decision for you. But more just talking about like our personal decisions surrounding it. And so I had just bumped into like a news article or something that talked about the ethics behind how Shein produces clothing, and I started to just feel horrible about my clothes being produced by people who are working in really bad conditions. And I thought, I don't need this, I don't need to be shopping this way, even though I loved the clothes, I loved how they fit, and it wasn't even necessarily how cheap they were, it was just they had exactly what I wanted. So it was so hard to be like, I don't think I want to use that anymore. And Shein's not the only place, right? And I think that that's where a lot of people get stuck when it comes to shopping ethically and sustainably, is it feels like it's almost an epidemic, like it's everywhere. It's like, well, where can I shop? Like where, and it's really easy to get obsessive with it. And so that's hard too. And so I just remember feeling like, well, this is one thing I can do. I'm just going to stop shopping there. And I was like, I know that's not everywhere. I know I'm still not perfect, but I'm going to stop shopping there. And I remember thinking like, dang, like this is a problem, and like I want the earth like to survive and to thrive for our future generations and things like that. And it's difficult when we're producing waste at such like a rapid pace. So
Yeah, absolutely. And this is definitely something that I'm not perfect at either. I still
yeah,
occasionally shop in fast fashion because there are those times where you just need something so specific
yeah,
that it's hard to find, and it is difficult to start to make the switch. I'm still somewhere in the middle
I would
on that
agree. I'm with you
spectrum.
there. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so what are things, and I would emphasize like I guess small or doable things that you think we can do to shop more sustainably.
Start thrifting. I think that's probably the easiest place to start. I personally don't like thrift shopping, and that's why I got into clothing exchanges, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, but that is probably one of the easiest places to start is by looking at thrift stores and seeing if there's anything, even if it's just maybe not your whole clothing haul that you're getting from a thrift store, but even if it's just one or two things, that's a great place to start. Another thing that I think is really, really helpful is seeing if other people in your area can use those clothes. Instead of donating immediately to a thrift store when you're not using something, maybe asking around your neighborhood or maybe family members and seeing if there's anyone that could immediately use that clothing, and that way we're extending the life cycle of those clothes before they eventually make their way to a landfill. Um, yeah, that's a tough question, honestly.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's hard to be in the middle, I think, and that's kind of where I'm struggling right now, is that it almost feels like either you're in this fast fashion world, you're keeping up with the trends, you're buying new clothes, or you have to go forever without clothes and go only
yeah,
thrift shopping. One thing I did that was really helpful for me to still feel like I was getting new clothes but being a little bit more sustainable was looking for online companies that produce sustainable and ethical clothing. So
okay,
I found a couple companies. I found one I really like that produces linen products, and it's all super sustainable, really ethical. And so when you're doing your research, that's something that I think can help kind of bridge that gap, is not going immediately from shopping fast fashion to only thrifting, because I think that gets
yeah,
discouraging sometimes. So finding companies that are starting to take those steps already is a great place to start.
yeah, absolutely. Do you mind sending me a couple of those companies so I can link them in the show notes?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So something I was thinking about as you were talking is my efforts to just need and want less clothing. I mean, because even if I'm going to shop on Amazon or at Old Navy or something like that, if I'm getting less of it, that's still a step forward, at least like for me personally. And so I think looking at your wardrobe and thinking about the needs versus the wants, and obviously indulging in a few wants, that's totally okay. But trying to maybe downsize a little bit, I think, is something that could be helpful too.
Yeah, I think one thing I've noticed, at least in myself, is that when it comes to clothing, it's really easy to have this scarcity mindset. Like, I
Yeah.
don't have this specific thing, or I need these clothes, or I need these shoes for this event. And instead of trying to make do with what we have, and I know that that's something that I've struggled with, is feeling like I need something new for this event, or I need this specific clothing article. And like you said, I think just being okay with maybe not having that specific thing every time is a great place to start. I
Yeah.
also was thinking as you were talking about reducing one-time use items that we
Okay.
purchase. For
Mm-hmm.
example, something that I've been thinking about and talking about with my husband is Christmas pajamas. And I know that's a beloved tradition for so many people,
Yeah.
but we wear them maybe twice a year and
Yeah.
then never wear them again. Or same with like Halloween costumes. We're
Mm-hmm. I was just
constantly
thinking about
buying
Halloween.
textiles for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think finding ways to maybe adjust those traditions or find something that you can create from scratch, then that lets you be creative while also not purchasing those one-time use type of items.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. I also think something that those with children can do is, if you can, hang on to kids' clothing, because there's always room to recycle that. There's going to be someone in your neighborhood or someone in your family who could have a kid, and not only are we extending the life of those clothes, but you're helping somebody not have to buy new clothes and have to spend that money. So it's like really a win there. So if it's possible to hang on to children's clothing, I think that's one place that we can really extend that life cycle, because kids grow in and out of clothes so fast. So
For sure.
okay, awesome. Well, if you thought that question was hard, get ready. So this question is, do you believe women can shop sustainably, affordably, and still feel confident in the clothes they wear? What sacrifices may have to be made?
When I started on this journey, I honestly thought the answer was no. I did
Yeah.
not think that I could shop sustainably and get the clothes that I wanted and get clothes that would make me feel confident and feel beautiful. And when we started having these discussions about potentially setting up clothing exchanges, around that same time, I had a pair of black slacks, and I wear slacks to work at least twice, three times a week. And so I had these black slacks that I wore all the time, and they broke. And I was devastated because I am petite, and it's hard to find black slacks that are comfortable and
Okay.
that fit well. And so I was really upset about these slacks. And I had started looking for sustainable companies to shop through so that I could get some new slacks. And I was ordering pairs of slacks that were $150 for a pair of pants so that I could get something sustainable and comfortable, and none of them fit. And I was like, man, if I'm willing to spend this much money on pants and they still don't fit, I don't know how I'm going to find pants. And so I set up my first clothing exchange. It was a small group of friends, and they came to my house, and I found a pair of black slacks. And
That's awesome.
I think that probably is like the ideal. I still wear those pants all the time. They're so comfortable. Obviously, that's not going to happen all the time. But I was then converted, I guess, to being okay with the idea that something used could fit my needs. That it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be something new, something fancy, but that when I wear those pants, I feel really confident, and no one knows that I got them for free at a clothing exchange. And it's
Yeah.
great. They look just as good as $1,000 pair of pants would.
Apparently, you were trying those and they weren't working. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. I felt and still feel kind of similarly that it does get more difficult. And I don't want to like this is probably a dramatic term, but I don't want to gaslight people into being like, it's so easy, like go sustainable, you're gonna still love all the clothes. Like it's
Right.
there, and that's why I think we've both kind of landed in the middle, is because there's still some things that are difficult for us, at least for me, not to give up, right? Even though it's more difficult, I think in a lot of cases it's worth the work, and maybe worth the little bit of extra financial push, but I think in a lot of ways it kind of ends up evening out, because if you're consuming less but spending more on each article of clothing, it might kind of even out in the end. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. I think it kind of comes back to that like scarcity mindset that I was talking about, and being
Yeah.
okay with going without some things, which is hard, and it's not pleasant sometimes, but like you said, I think it is rewarding to know that the clothes that you're wearing have a purpose, and that they are doing something both for you and for the environment, and that it's not just something that you're going to wear and move on from. And in some ways it's made my relationship with clothes more meaningful,
Yeah.
because now I'm looking for items that I really need or that I really want, and I feel proud to be wearing clothes that are reused and that are making a difference in the world.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's not easy, and I'm not there. I'm not pretending to be perfect
Yeah.
at it, but I do think it's possible to come to a spot where you can feel confident in the clothes that you're wearing. And I've
Yeah.
noticed that most of my outfits now that I'm wearing are not clothes that I purchased, but they still do the job, and I still feel great when I wear them.
Yeah, that's really cool. I also want to kind of make the side note that I when I made this decision, I didn't like go through my clothes and think, okay, what did I purchase fast fashion, and like should I get rid of this or anything? Like, no, like wear the heck out of all of your clothes, right? Our goal here is to like extend the life. So don't be ashamed if your tag says like Shein or Amazon or whatever, because like we want to extend the life of clothing wherever it came from, because it's here, right? We have it. And so I think that was something I went over for a second, where I was like, should I even wear these? And I'm like, oh yes, I want to extend the life of these clothes as much as I can. So okay, awesome. Well, kind of moving into the last part of this interview, can you talk to us about Rethreaded, your nonprofit organization?
Yeah. So the result of all of this research and turmoil and everything, was that I started hosting clothing exchanges. Like I mentioned earlier, I really don't like thrifting. It's tiresome for me. It gets really exhausting seeing hundreds of clothes, trying to sort through them, find ones that are going to fit. Just everything about the process to me is not super enjoyable. And I wish that it were, right? It's a great thing to go thrift shopping. But the other aspect of thrifting that I didn't love is that when you donate your clothes, you give them for free, which is awesome. I think donating is a great thing. But then when you try to then shop sustainably, you don't get free clothes back. You have to
Right.
repurchase them from a thrift store. Obviously at a really reduced price, which is awesome. But I was wanting a way for people to both get rid of clothes that they're not going to use anymore in a sustainable way, but also then to, I guess, be rewarded for that. Because I think it's a great thing to donate clothes that you're not using anymore. And so, after talking with family and doing some research, I decided to start hosting clothing exchanges in the community. And this was last year, so almost exactly a year ago, I had my first exchange. It was just at my house. It was really small, but we ended up with tons of clothing. And I then was able to give some of that clothing to people in our neighborhood that were in need. And so it ended up benefiting probably, I think, 10 people just from that one exchange. And so throughout the year we kept doing exchanges, and I decided that this was something that I wanted to grow and that I wanted to help more people in the community. And so I decided to go the route of making it a nonprofit organization. And so our purpose is to reuse and repurpose women's clothing so that it doesn't end up in the landfill and that people are benefiting from those clothes. So basically what it looks like is you bring any clothes that you are wanting to donate, and then we set them all up according to sizes roughly, and then we exchange, and people get to take home free clothes in exchange for clothes that they aren't wearing anymore. And the thing that I really love about this is that there are clothes sitting in my closet that, to quote Marie Kondo, don't bring me joy. And, and they're just sitting there. And so when I exchange those, then I'm able to find pieces that I'm actually excited about, that I'm ready to wear, and that are going to refresh my wardrobe. And that's basically what it is. It's like a little Kickstarter for your wardrobe when you're feeling tired of your clothes, which is awesome. And all of the events are free, so there's no attendance fee. The clothes that are left over, either you can take them back with you, or I keep them and bring them to supplement future exchanges. So we always have plenty of sizes. Almost all of our exchanges, we've had sizes extra small to 3XL. And so I feel really strongly about making sure there's something for everyone to choose from. Obviously, I can't promise that they're going to be super cute, super high quality.
Or in their style. Everyone has a different style, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But there's still something for you to look at so that you can participate. The other thing that I feel really strongly about is making sure that the clothes people bring to the exchanges are immediately wearable, meaning that they don't have holes and they don't have stains. Because if you're bringing your clothes and someone's benefiting from those and then you end up with a shirt that has a massive hole in it, that's really discouraging and disappointing. And so I ask that the clothes that people bring are in good repair and that someone could basically put it on and wear it that day if they wanted to. And that helps to make sure that the quality of clothes that are being exchanged is good. Even if it's not, like you said, your style or a brand that you're hoping for, it's at least something that you can use immediately without having to get it mended or laundered.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So how can local Utah women who are hopefully listening to this podcast get involved in Rethreaded and the clothing exchanges?
Yeah, so right now we are located in Ogden, Utah. We have a shop in downtown Ogden that has partnered with us, so that's where we're currently hosting our exchanges. So basically all you have to do to get involved is follow us at rethreaded.ogden on Instagram, and then that's where we post all of our updates. We also have a Facebook page, and we will just keep people updated with dates and times. If you want to drop off your clothes beforehand, I am happy to take them for you. I will sort them into sizes and set them up, and then all you have to do is show up. Or if you want to bring them the day of, that's also fine. We usually just have tables with size labels. So basically all you do is you gather clothes that are immediately wearable, that you're not going to be using anymore. Bring them with you. We'll take some time to help you set them up when you get there. And then we let you choose your clothes. And so all you have to do is just watch for the dates and times, and then you just get free clothes as a result, which I think is great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And as well, we decided to get rid of the requirement to bring clothing. And so that's correct, right, McKinley?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So, because we're still sustaining the life of clothes, even if you don't bring clothes of your own. So if you just want to come and look through clothes, that's okay. But if you can bring something, we would love to have that as well. So the next clothing exchange is on February 24th. And it will be at the shop that McKinley mentioned at the Local Artisan Collective from 12 to 2. So I'm going to link quite a few things in the notes for this episode, but one of them will be Rethreaded's Instagram and Facebook page, and also the details of the next clothing exchange. If you want to come, please come, even if it's a little bit of a drive. I go from Mapleton. It's like an hour and a half, but to me it's worth it because it's really fun. And I get some free clothes. And then if you can bring a friend, but don't be afraid to come alone because everybody is super friendly. So, okay. Definitely. Awesome. McKinley, is there anything you want to add or share before we wrap this up?
I think my final thought is just to not be afraid. I think, especially with social media, we see a lot of really intense opinions. And, like, you have to be all in, you have to be green, you have to be sustainable, all this kind of stuff. And it's okay. It's okay if your first step is giving a shirt to your sister. Like, that's totally fine. And it's okay to come to a clothing exchange and then also go shopping at the store. Like, it's okay to start wherever you're at, because like we talked about, that's where I'm at right now. But I hope you just won't be afraid to come try it out, because like Mallory said, it's super fun. You get to meet new people and you get free clothes, so that's a bonus. But I think just remembering that it's doable and that you can take baby steps, and that's totally fine.
Absolutely. And don't let your ability to not be able to do it all make it so you don't do nothing. You know, it's okay to start super small, and it's okay to stay super small, because that's still something. So, okay. Thank you so much, McKinley. This was super enlightening for me. I think that the listeners will really enjoy it. And thank you for letting me be involved in Rethreaded. It's been a great experience for me so far. And I think you're just getting started with it. I think it's only going to get better. So thank you so much again. Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our interview. So I have gone ahead and linked the things we talked about in the show notes. I really hope you join us for the clothing exchange on February 24th at the Local Artisan Collective in Ogden. I have linked some of our favorite stores, and I forgot to mention in the interview some of my favorite thrift stores, since McKinley mentioned she doesn't do a whole lot of thrift shopping. But I love Uptown Cheapskate. There's a location in Salt Lake and in Orem. And I also love Plato's Closet. They have a few locations across Utah. You can sell clothes there. You can also buy clothes there. But ultimately, both of our favorite place to shop is at a Rethreaded clothing exchange, because it's free for everybody and a great way to shop sustainably. So make sure that you come check it out on the 24th. Okay, you guys have an amazing week. Bye-bye.